that have joined me today, as well as the press for attending. This is a priority in our community and a very tragic incident that we're all very concerned about. Joining us today are several distinguished guests that have been on the forefront of bringing attention to this tragic case of negligence that has taken place and put our families, the families of Brentwood and Central Islip, in harm's way. One of those that has led the charge in creating awareness of this is Legislator Monica Martinez, as well as other groups in this area who have all weighed in to really create awareness and bring some attention to this tragic incident. We have New York Communities for Change. Now, CNA has been an organization at the forefront of fighting for this. And we have Daniel Australia from Make the Road, New York. Thank you all for the help. In the past several weeks, this community has become increasingly frustrated over this issue. And we have gathered here today to express our collective outrage at the dumping of soil containing levels of pollution that are prohibited by law. And this soil containing pollution was dumped right here in Clemente Park, which serves the communities of Brentwood and Central Islip. A park which is historically known as a park that our children have played year after year and swim in their pools. This incident has taken place right here in our community, and it will potentially impact our families for a generation. Up until now, we have heard the town's position. They say that they will work to clean up the contaminated soil. And what they offer us is to bus our children to another community for their activities, for their recreation. Take our children to another community because of their negligence here. We are tired of the town of Islip's disrespect when it comes to Brentwood and Central Islip and Bayshore. And I want to start off by addressing the issue of the park's cleanup on the part of the town of Islip. The environmental study taking place addresses the levels of contaminant in the soil and in the air and in the park, but it does not assess the health risk to the people who live around the park. What about how much our residents have been exposed to? What about our children who have been playing in a contaminated park for close to a year? What about the children who have asthma, who live right around the park and are breathing contaminants that are in the air? We all know that asbestos is airborne. This is not just something that's going to stay in the ground. Our residents should not be kept in the dark, especially about possible health threats to the families. We are not second-class citizens in this community. As a town of Islip, they want us to believe that the mere carting away of contaminated soil will undo the damage done to the health of our residents and their children. We are tired of the disrespect to our community. I am happy to announce that after working with the State Health Department, the Department of Health at the state level has agreed to step in and assist the local authorities in investigating and assessing the impact to the health of the residents and the children in our community. They will work with local authorities and assess that. Right now, we are seeing the study being conducted in which they are putting machines inside this park to assess the amount of asbestos in the air. Those machines need to be in our neighborhoods. We need to know what we are breathing in our homes, not only in the park. The town of Islip would like us also to believe that anybody can come to a town park and offer to do work in a park that's frequented by our children, and that they would be allowed to do so without any supervision or oversight. The town of Islip wants to wash their hands and say some contractors did something in our park. Who allowed them? Where was the oversight? Where was the supervision that should be watching out for the families that all live around here? We all know this would not occur in another community. If we were another more affluent community, that would not be happening. But they consider us a second-class community, and that's why the lack of oversight. We are tired of the disrespect. The residents of Brentwood and CI are no strangers to the frequent disrespect and the manner in which the town of Islip treats our community and its residents. Anyone who's had a town inspector come to their home knows what I'm talking about, knows about that level of disrespect. We understand that they have a job to do, but respect is basic. Respect for our citizens is basic. We've seen the way that they treat people in our community. Especially, our community has especially seen that when they try and make a complaint, how they are treated. Anyone who owns a business in Brentwood or Central Islip can tell you about the abusive treatment that our business owners receive at the hands of the towns. That sometimes they plan to open up a business and the town will drag them out 2 years until they're out of business before they even open. The town that pretends to be business friendly is an obstacle for many of our businesses. We can all tell you about the abusive treatment. We know that other communities are not treated in this same manner. There is a historical precedent of neglect in our community by the town. The gloves are off as far as our community is concerned. We have had it with the neglect and the double standard when it comes to our community. We all know about the stories of intimidation on the part of Town Hall and about the way it tries to intimidate anyone who speaks out in defense of their rights. Anybody who's made a complaint in Town Hall knows what I'm talking about. I'm sure that speaking right now, my speaking right now will have its consequences. But neither I nor the residents of Brentwood or Central Islip are afraid to speak truth to power. And we will stand, and we will not stand up with this disrespect anymore. We in this community have seen a long history of environmental racism, of dumping of undesirable projects without any regard to the quality of life of our residents, without consultation in many cases. And sometimes they rig the system, putting public hearings at a time when they know our residents of working class community cannot weigh in. We've seen that over and over again. What's happened in the park here, this is not new. We have been dumped on continuously. We are the only community on Long Island with 3 power plants within a 5-mile area. The only place that has been allowed in all of Long Island. Why was that allowed here? Those are our officials supposedly looking out for us. They allow it here because they feel it's the path of least resistance. We know they would not allow that in the wealthier community. One of the power plants was fined $500,000 for exceeding sulfur emissions into our air. I bet you many of you don't even know that. That for 10 months we were breathing sulfur at levels prohibited by law. And that power company was fined $500,000. Why was this permitted to be placed in our community where people live? A gravel pit was allowed to be placed on 5th Avenue near a residential area. Anybody who lives there can tell you about how all the homes have sand blowing into their homes. They cannot keep their windows open because of the amount of sand that's blown into their homes because this was allowed. Why was this permitted? Why was not our town hall not watching out for us? It was dumped in our community. We know it would not be allowed in another community. There are several polluted Superfund sites. The Liberty property, there are several more that we know have been contaminated for years. Why is it not being cleaned up? Why are we living side by side at these contaminated areas? A container garbage disposal facility was allowed by the town of Islip to be placed near Eisenhower Avenue. Container garbage in a residential area, the smell of which permeates every home in the area. We are tired of this disrespect and what is allowed in our communities. There are serious questions about what occurred and the handling of this situation by the town of Islip. After I called them in January, and Legislator Monica Martinez as well, alerting them to the situation, they began to cart away tons of this dangerous material. Carted away. Many questions are raised. Where was it taken? What precautions did they take to protect our neighborhood from further exposure? Asbestos is airborne. It's not just in the ground. When you have a contaminated location, you can't just put it in trucks and drive it away. there are legal procedures as to how you have to dispose of contaminated soil. They drove it back through our neighborhoods, exposing our communities. We need an investigation into that. We need, because moving asbestos makes it airborne, and it makes a risk to the resident far worse. I'm calling for the DEC to reinvestigate the hasty removal of this illegally dumped hazardous material when it was done back in January. In the latest acts of disrespect, when the town finally decided to notify the residents of this catastrophe, after it had already been published in Newsday for several weeks, they sent out notices to residents here in English only. They don't understand the needs of our community, and they don't want to. We are outraged that the town of Islip fell asleep at the switch. We are outraged that the health of our children has been endangered. We are outraged that our property values have been affected because of the negligence and non-existent oversight of this project by the town of Islip. We are outraged that our children would be transported to another community in order to have access to recreation. We are outraged that we are time and time again treated as a second-class community. And we are tired of the disrespect. And we demand that the service for our children be placed right here in our community, and that the quality of life for our taxpayers and for our residents be restored. And most of all, that the life be protected of our residents, and that the dignity of our residents be respected. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce our legislator, who has been a champion from day one on this issue. I am so fortunate, we are all so fortunate to have her at our side, fighting equally in respects that deal with the county and many other areas. She's been trumpeting this all over town in every corner of the district, and it's largely because of that collective effort that today we see the awareness being brought to this attention. I introduce you to you Legislator Monica Martinez.
Yes. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for all being here today. You know, we keep saying why here, and it's obvious why we're doing it here. They have no respect for us, and it's time that we put a stop to that. I am completely outraged, not only as a resident and a resident actually down this road. I live on this road. And just to see what was happening in this park is very upsetting. And as an educator, who I have been with children for the past 14 years of my career, it's unfortunate because I know those children of mine that were in my room, who have sat in front of me, have been in this park. And who knows if there is any health issues that they're having maybe as a result of this. And this is why I made sure that I spoke to the town back in January when I got the first complaint that there was debris down this hill where our children were sledding down the pile of snow. And then I called the town and said, look, there's debris there. And I just had a child get hurt because they're going down this hill, down into the debris. I said, I need that cleaned up immediately. And when they did, I received more complaints as to more dumping being taking place. And I inquired on those issues as well. And then I urged, and I seriously urge my colleagues, not only at the state level, at the county level, at the town level, every single level of government to come together with me today to make sure that our children in this area are given the proper resources needed. I am currently working with the Budget Review Office to make sure that I am able to fund certain organizations that run summer programs for our kids here in the district. I am also calling for a meeting with Councilman Anthony Sepp. I sent him a letter last week requesting a meeting. I am still waiting for that response, and I am waiting for that meeting to take place. At that time, we will discuss the alternative plans for our children to have recreational facilities here. There is no reason why our children should be going to another community, another town, to have a park, to have a swimming pool, when they should have it in their own neighborhood. It's not fair. They also think busing them. Are you going to bus them one time during the day? At what time? In the morning? And then they're going to be out all day? Are you going to have certain bus services, shuttles? How is this going to be run? It's not acceptable, it's not feasible, and it's definitely not fair, and I'm not going to take that. They said we were going to have a pool this summer. Clearly, we're not going to have a pool this summer. We're not even going to have a park for our children this summer. So therefore, again, I urge the town to look into the contract agencies that they have, make sure that they're able to find money to fund certain programs to help these children out this summer. We all very well know what can happen when a child is bored. Many wrong decisions are made, and we do not want our children to be subject to three-strike rule. Again, as an educator, I am not going to have that. As an elected official, I'm definitely not going to have that. I am currently working to draft an amended resolution to amend local law in Chapter 189, prohibiting any contractor to be accepted by the county government who has been guilty of crimes, of extortion, of coercion, and especially now, the dumping of illegal materials in our parks. There is no way that we're going to have these contractors working in our neighborhoods, especially in Suffolk County. Also, I promised to fight for the residents, and we were talking about just recently about the health issues. I am holding a forum this Thursday, May 15th, at the public library in the auditorium, where we're going to have a legal and a health clinic to answer our residents' concerns regarding their rights as humans, civil rights, human rights, as well as making sure that all their health questions are answered. Too many people are calling our offices. I don't know what to do. My child is coughing, my child this. Again, we need to make sure that our community are informed, that our members are given the proper information, and it's time that the town of Islip realizes that the buck stops here, because it is enough. I live here, I experience it day to day, and this today is a calling to the town of Islip to make sure that we're not going to take your activity with us in negligence any further. I am livid, I am upset. As you can see, I'm emotional because it's something that has hit me hard. Because these are my kids who are using this park, and it's not fair. Thank you.
Everybody to attend the health forum that Monica is giving. We need answers.
What is that?
Our community should not be kept in the dark.
What is that date on that again? What time?
I'm sorry, that's May 15th at 6:30 to 8:30 at the public library in the auditorium. In Brentwood Library.
We need to know, our residents need to know what the effect is, and thank you, Monica, for bringing this forum to us. There are two organizations I mentioned before that have weighed in on this and created a lot of public awareness, and that is New York Communities for Change and Make the Road. They have brought two residents from our community. We're now going to hear from two residents from their perspective, and the first one we will be introducing is Nelsina Deck.
You know, I am really outraged. I am totally outraged with this, because New York Communities for Change has been working with this park issue since last summer when they closed the park. They told us they closed the park because of budgetary problems. Now we find out the truth. They closed the park because of the illegal dumping and what they were doing to this community. Yeah. We need to get together and ask them, instead of forcing people to resign, how about you resigning? How about you not running for state senate? You lied to us.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
We need our community to fight together. New York Communities for Change is a non-profit 501c organization that deals basically with community issues. And with all the fighting that we were doing from last year to have them tell us one lie after the other lie, they couldn't even keep up at times. And for, excuse me, Councilman Smith to say that it's the church. You see, they're always trying to push it off to somebody else. Well, the reality of it is when you point your finger, there are three pointing right back at you. So you need to get up and turn around and do the right thing. As the article says, you need to look in the mirror. You really need to look in that mirror. Just because you're running for office or anything and you're going to turn around and tell the community that we're doing an investigation. If it was left up to me, it would be a class action lawsuit for every house in this community. Against the town of Islip members, the councilmen, and even down to the people who were dumping in here. You know, my mother always told me, in order to fight, you got to fight as a group. But it takes one mind to change things when you can get everybody else to accept that point of fact. I'm asking everybody in this community, I'm even asking you people, the media, to stick with us, because let me tell you something, it just began. The fight is not over. As long as God gives me the strength, I'm gonna fight until it's my last fight. And I guarantee every child in this community is going to get what they need, be it medical, be it social, be it media. We're going to go door to door and help these people. And please come out May 15th for Legislator Martinez Health Forum. Remember, it takes a community, not just one individual. Thank you. N-E-L-S-E-N-A, middle initial A, last name D as a dog, A-Y.
All right, I'd like to introduce now another resident of our community and a member of Make the Road New York, Carlos Reyes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes a todos. I will try to do in Spanish first. Muy buenas tardes a cada uno de ustedes. Trataré de hacerlo en español, and then I will try to do it in English. My name is Carlos Reyes. Mi nombre es Carlos Reyes y soy miembro de Se Hace Camino Nueva York. Vivo en Central Islip por 10 años y estamos reunidos hoy acá porque esta es una situación injusta a la que consideramos que sus padres no puedan traer a sus hijos a disfrutar un día tan bello como hoy, porque el parque está cerrado y aparte de estar cerrado, está contaminado. Eso es algo injusto y lo consideramos como una falta de respeto a nuestra comunidad. My name is Carlos Reyes. I'm from Make the Road, New York. I live in Central Islip for 10 years. And we are here because we feel this is unfair. The parents cannot enjoy this beautiful day in this park because it's closed and closed. The environment is contaminated. So we have to get involved with this and find out what's going on and how this will be affected in our community. So that's why we are here, because we want to find out, get to the bottom of the issue of this environment and how this will affect our community. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce a gentleman who represents the NAACP. And that's an organization that has fought for justice for communities such as this for many, many, many years, especially on the issue of environmental racism, which is exactly what we're dealing with right now. I'd like to introduce to you the Reverend Roderick Pearson.
Good afternoon, everyone. The NAACP stands with this community, stands with Assemblyman Ramos and Legislator Martinez in saying to the people of this town, the contractors that have dumped this hazardous in our community, that this would not happen in other communities. And if it would not happen in other communities, we demand that this site be cleaned up. We demand answers. We demand respect. You know, it's funny. You can honor us in Black History Month. You can honor us in Hispanic Month. What kind of honor is this? That you close our park, that you allow dumping, environmental racism, and that's what it is. This is not an honor. I will not receive any more honors from the town of Islip until they give us the proper respect that they ought to give our people. I will not be your poster child. I will not be your photo op for your campaigns. We will not be used in that manner. Give us the respect that we are due. We pay our taxes. We are law-abiding citizens. And damn it, give us the respect that you give other communities. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out. It is time that the communities of Brentwood and Central Islip raise their voices. We have to lift up our head with pride, and we have to fight this issue. We are taxpayers like anybody else. Our home values right here have been affected. When you own a home next to a polluted park, what do you think that does to your equity? The town of Islip has hurt our families, not only environmentally, economically as well. So I urge everybody to raise your voices, join united with Monica and I and the rest of the leaders, make the road New York Community for Change. And we want to make sure that this is the last time that this community is disrespected and dumped on. Thank you all very much. This time I'd like to open it up for any questions from the press.
So is there any idea how this happened? Is there any idea? I mean, they have a whole trail. What do you believe really happened? How could the 33 tons of debris be dumped under Islip Park?
Exactly. An Islip Park that's under constant video surveillance. An Islip Park that has safety officers here every day, as well as other personnel. A project approved by the Islip Town Board that is allowed to be carried out without any oversight. I guarantee you, if any one of you here wanted to put a deck in your house for an extension, the town of Islip will be there. They will make sure every nail is right. But they dump toxic waste in a park where our children are, and they look the other way and they want to blame the contractors. They fell asleep at the switch.
Yeah! They want to close the park no matter what. That's why they let them
Islip knew this was happening, they were aware of it, and they let it happen?
Oh yeah.
Yes, they got cameras. They got cameras all over the park. From end to end, and in the middle.
So they knew what was going on.
They want to close the park.
And if not, they should have known. With everything that they have there and their intrinsic responsibility to know. They have been negligent.
The town. They're like also here.
I understand the other day there was one child who possibly is exposed to asbestos poisoning. We have schools right next door. We have homes that are right up against the park. Remember, this is not something in the soil. It's airborne. Asbestos is airborne. So we don't want to just be satisfied with knowing what it is. We want to know the impact. We want monitors. We want air quality monitors in our neighborhoods, not just in the park. Well, that's an assessment that needs to be made. That's one of the questions that we have a right to know.
I know I got it. Very grandsons.
You see, aquí en la alcaldía de Islip aprobó un proyecto aquí donde tiraron arena contaminada en este parque aquí. Un parque donde muchos niños juegan aquí y por un año eso estaba a un nivel contaminado que hacía una amenaza a la salud de nuestros jóvenes. Ahora la alcaldía quiere decir, bueno, eso fue el contractor el que hizo el trabajo. Ellos tienen una responsabilidad y vigilar eso, asegurar que todo ahí está hecho acorde a la ley. Y no lo hicieron, porque aquí nos consideran una comunidad de segunda clase. Nosotros los latinos, los afroamericanos, la gente aquí sabemos que eso no pasará en otra comunidad. Se permitió aquí por racismo ambiental.
What is your next step? What do you physically doing next from this process?
Monica and I know at our level are trying to do as much as we can to provide those answers. Monica's forum is designed to provide some answers as far as health. I was able this week to get the state health department to step in and assist the local authorities, and it should be opened up at the federal level as well. We need help from all ways around. There's no way that we can have our children breathing this for 1 year, and the town of Islip saying, "Oops, okay, we'll take it out." No, we can't leave it.
But are you meeting with the supervisor? Are you demanding a meeting? What are you doing?
We have all reached out for such meetings, and we have all made them aware of the situation. We want to be offered more than a bus to take our kids to another community. We need our basic services here.
Do you think you guys should go to Islip Town Hall and demand a meeting?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. You know, as I said earlier, this is just the beginning. You want to know where we're going to go. I'm requesting that everybody in this community get together and, you know, bring their children, get their children tested, make sure that they're all done. But me personally, I would love to file a class action lawsuit against the whole kit and caboodle.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Citing what you call neglect and lack of oversight here at the park during the duration of the project, do you believe that Councilman Sens is fit to run for Senate?
Well, those are political issues, and this is not a political event. This is about the health of our community. The judgment of our councilman who fell asleep at the switch and whether he deserves to be Senate after having done that is a decision that the residents have to decide. I'll reserve those judgments. Right now, I'm concerned about the health of our residents that was put at risk at the hands of these councilmen.
Do you believe he's still fit to sit on the town board?
Like I said, I would rather stay away from political judgments right now because this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a people issue. I personally will not vote for somebody who fell asleep on the switch like that.
In the background, one of those green trucks, you know, the Dave Street was in the background.
Right.
See that thing?
Right.
So, do you have any reaction?
Let me ask you something. If you put an extension on your home, do you think the town would be there to supervise every nail to make sure it was done right? How can a project of this scale take place in a park and the town's not there to see what's being dumped there?
Because they want to close the park.
They can't have deniability. They can't say, we didn't know. We just let anybody dump anything
They
in
want
the
to
park.
close the park. Doesn't matter what. They want to close, so now they have a reason.
Good question.
No, I say, I live over there, I don't give a damn.
Wait, question.
That's what happened.
District Attorney Spoda said
That wasn't
the
purpose.
final test results won't be out until
That wasn't
June
purpose.
of the
To close
asbestos
the
and what the
park.
effects are.
Because now they have a reason. They have a reason now. Oh, we gotta close it because they
Because you don't live here. When do we worry? When do we worry? Not only kids, we have animals too that are around.
We signed
There's a
that.
habitat.
Yeah, now they close it because they have that. Because the town of Islip, they don't give it into the
other jurisdictions in, as we have done with the state and the county at Harlem.
Yes, thank you. Yes, the county executive and the entire legislature I have spoken to. We're trying to make sure that we do bring the resources needed here, the assessments. And yes, District Attorney Spoda has said that we have to wait till June, and we have been telling our constituents that if you do feel that your child may be at risk, then you take the initiative and you go to the doctor. And that is why I'm also hosting this forum, so our residents are more better informed of how and what symptoms to look for, they have residents here, and just to allow them the opportunity to ask those questions that have not been answered for them by the town.
If we go take their children to the doctor, is that going to be free? Or do they have to use their health insurance? Like, how does that...
Town should be held liable.
All questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, all questions that need to be answered that unfortunately we cannot answer.
You realize that this issue happened with the town, and Monica are in a different jurisdiction trying indirectly to mediate, to remediate this situation.
But why aren't you guys marching on Town Hall and getting to that
We have a
supervisor?
We're getting to that. We're getting there.
We have, and we will continue.
I mean, that letter they sent to residents is this, you know, preemptive.
Exactly.
But it actually says nothing. It doesn't say anything about health concerns, anything. I live right across the street. I have a house right across the street from the park.
Right. You can't wash your hands and say we didn't know. That's it.
Last week I sent a letter to Councilman Sempt. I mailed it in. I am hoping to get a response from him. I have requested a meeting. So right now I'm waiting for them to respond to me. I will call up and follow up to make sure they have received my letter. And then at that moment set up a date with them.
Monica, when you tried to contact Councilman Sempt, what happened?
What?
Have you tried to contact him?
I have in the past, yes.
Like
now I just recently sent him the letter, and that was last week. So I'm giving him the chance to receive it in the mail and then read it, and then pull me up.
2 days in the mail. I'm sure he's received it already.
Okay, I just have one question, really quick. We're talking short-term goals here. I'm talking long-term. I want to know the effects that it's going to have on my grandchildren, my children, 5 years from now. What guarantee do we have that 5, 10 years that hope is not going to decline? You can't worry about what's going on right now. I need to know what's going to happen because these things develop over time. Any kind of lung diseases, everybody knows asbestos takes years to develop really bad lung issues. So
Not even that, the cleanup is also gonna put us back in the air.
I live here in 2014. Say I moved from here in 2016. Those are the kind of issues that need to be addressed long term also.
When are they going to start testing outside of the car?
That's what I'm saying.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
This lady right here has a question.
I have a question. What's going to happen to the $300,000 that they got to fix the car?
Yeah.
Who's going to protect that money so this car can have it?
It wasn't 300.
There was $1 million.
It was $1.5 million.
It was both, yes. That is
They're going to use this for something else for the legislation does.
and that's again what I'm going to be discussing with them.
Because that belongs to them.
You're absolutely right, and it should come back to
And it
us.
should have interest on it for them. And also, anyone that wants to go into the legislation and have park and recreation, when they have the meetings, be there and put your concern up. You have 3 minutes to speak. Show up at the meetings, let them know if you're This was voted on. It wasn't just done by Islip. It was voted on by other legislators, whether who they're going to get to take care of this situation, who they got to dump. Okay, that wasn't just Islip. It's voted. Nobody gets to force anything. So find out who voted on this issue.
I will raise another question that everybody knows the answer to. Money paid for studies, money paid for reparations, money paid to transport our kids. Who do you think is going to pay for that?
Taxpayers.
You know the answer to that.
Or was that money going to be saved?
It's costing us. It's costing us, the homeowners over here, to fix